I'm going to let him introduce himself, but this is Chris, one of my good friends and wonderful martial artist. Chris, give it to us. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and all that stuff.
Chris Burnett from Cleveland, Ohio. And I founded Green Dragon Tai Chi and Qigong back in 2014. And before that, I've done several styles of martial arts. I've done karate as a kid. Back then, I think most kids who were in martial arts were in karate in the 70s, things like that. And then as I got older, I did some wrestling, wrestled for high school, and found some Kung Fu later on. Did some Wing Chun, some Bak Mei, and 5 animals, and found Tai Chi. When Tai Chi was first introduced to me, my son's mother was doing Tai Chi, and I had no interest in Tai Chi at the time. I had a brother / sparring partner. So he's a brother from another mother. And we used to run the hills with these wooden swords and beat each other up. We knew some skill, but not really. We just knew how to fight. So we were just, hounding each other like knives sharpening each other. And Tai Chi seemed too slow for me back then. I wasn't ready for it, I guess. And, as I think back now, I say, wow, I wish I would have started back then, but, all things in time. So, yeah. Once I did find Tai Chi, of course, I fell in love with it. I was actually doing Tai Chi from a DVD. It was a 24 form, and I learned it. It was my aunt was doing it. She was always into Tai Chi and Qigong. And so I didn't really know the martial side, or I didn't even think about martial application. I thought it was just a nice, gentle way to relax, good movement, stuff like that. And then I met this Tai Chi master who you couldn't move. And I try and push on him, and all I hear is push harder, push harder. I'm like, I'm not pushing. So after that, I really looked into it. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go find a class. I'm gonna enroll and get a teacher. And so that started my Tai Chi journey. And then I started with the Yang style. And then soon after that, I met Chin style, because Melina, my wife, she always travels to San Francisco for it's like every other year they do this thing at her work. It's a Salesforce convention.
Oh, nice.
And she saw some guys in the park. And if you go to the park in San Francisco, they're doing all kinds of martial arts. They've got weapons everywhere, and you can see some Tai Chi, Kung Fu, whatever it may be. So she happened to see Chin Tai Chi, and I had kind of been interested in it already. And she came back and she told me, it was like, oh, I saw these guys in the park. It didn't look like Tai Chi, but when I asked them what it was, they told me it was Chin style, this and that. So I'm like, okay. So next time when she went, we kind of looked ahead. We looked for a teacher to go visit. And that's how I found my Chin teacher, Tony Wong. So we went to his school, and they showed us the basics. They showed us stuff like the first 4 energies and like a walk-in form. And just how to, stand correctly without damaging the knees, and, good posture, things like that. And so maybe we might have did silk reeling with them that particular time. And so what we found out was that he had a Kung Fu brother here in Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
He traveled all the way to San Francisco to find out that there was Chin Tai Chi in Cleveland.
Well, that's a part of the experience.
Right, exactly, yeah. So when I came back, we studied with Carl DeChara, who was downtown Cleveland, and he did Wing Chun, Bak Mei. I'm sorry, he didn't do Bak Mei. He did Wing Chun. He did Bagua, and he also did Tong Bei, and then of course the Tai Chi. So he would do like 2 hours of Tai Chi on a Saturday morning. So you get there at 8. From 8 to 10, you do Tai Chi, and then from 10 to 12, you do Wing Chun.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
so it was like
rigorous.
What's that?
That was rigorous.
It was like a 4-hour class, and he was really good at Fajing, and he was a very powerful person. And he would, when you do the Wing Chun, there's like a wooden box you would stand on, or really like a platform, I should say. And he would stand on one end, you stand on the other end, and he would just give you things to answer a question. So he would punch, and you would either have to do your Tan Sao or your Ban Sao and Hun Sao, redirect, things like that. And as you grew in skill, he would give you more things to go, to answer.
Was there any difference in quality from the guy in San Francisco versus the guy in Cleveland? Did you find any difference or any different styles, method, approach?
Yeah, several differences. One difference is the guy in Cleveland, like I said on the box, he'll actually hit you. Like it'll be a nice hit too. I mean, he'll get you used to not being afraid of being hit, right?
Right.
But the guy so my teacher in San Francisco, he's very mellow, very knowledgeable, and he's also very powerful, but he has a nice flow. And I think the expression that each person gives is a little different. So like my teacher here in Cleveland, who was Carl, his expression of the form, even though it's the same movements, a little bit different. And he was a little bit rougher around the edges, I would say.
So do you think that your experience with external martial arts previous to Tai Chi maybe helped you appreciate Tai Chi, or maybe helped you with a different perspective?
It definitely gave me a different perspective. And at first it can be almost kind of like you feel like you're on this mystical journey, like you can kind of put more into it mentally than it really is sometimes, I think, but it can be that mystical journey as well. I think that from the external standpoint, like things like wrestling and all the sparring I did in the woods, that kind of helped me to get used to.
Sparring in the woods?
What's that?
Sparring in the woods, is that a terminology, or is that
sparring
in the woods?
Yeah. So we would go in the park, my friends, and we would just beat each other up pretty much. Like I said, we had the wooden swords. We had.
Okay, I thought you said sparring in the woods, like you went in the woods and sparred.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And so as a side, let me get off track for just a second.
Yeah, no, please.
We used to ninja past the police officers. So there's this park in my neighborhood back then, and there was a church across the street, and the police would park in the parking lots, and they would have their lights on, and they were kind of monitoring the park. And we wanted, it was after work, it'd be late, it'd be like super dark at night. So we would park at the church across the street. We'd have wooden swords strapped on our back, and we'd be dressed in all black. And we would you'd have to run across the street and immediately dash to a tree so that they couldn't see you. So we had it down to where we wouldn't go like one after another, because suppose if you thought you saw something out the corner of your eye, you're going to look, right? So if somebody else was coming right after that, you'd see that person, right? So we would have to stagger our timing and positioning. And so we would take alternate routes from tree to tree until we got deep enough in the park that we can pull out the swords and kill each other. And
so two questions.
Yeah.
One, how old were you guys?
21.
And then the second question, the perspective of the cop. Did they ever spot you?
No.
Well, no. Good on you.
Yeah. There were once you get deep into the park, there's these hills and stuff you could run up. There's streams in there. So, and it's pretty big. One time though, it was funny. We were we heard a noise coming. And so we stopped and we just kind of squatted on the side of the hill, and this noise is coming. And so this big German Shepherd runs right up to us, and it slows down and stopped, and it looked at us, and then it turned around and left. It was I don't know what these guys are doing, but
I'm not gonna mess with these guys.
Yeah.
These are the woodsmen.
Yeah.
I have expected you to come out the water in a cinema and just stick the eyes out. Go back down.
Since you mentioned that, I got to tell you.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you one more.
Yeah, I'm here.
So this is another park. It's called Shaker Lake. And we doing the same thing there. And we hear these guys coming. These two guys are coming. And so we just we were on the main path, and we kind of dipped back off into behind the trees. And we were just sitting there waiting for them to pass.
Right.
And we can hear them. They're talking about the circumference of the sun. They're talking all this very scientific talk. And one guy put a cigarette in his mouth and lit a lighter right as he was passing us. And it just said, illuminated our faces, but they didn't even see us. So
oh my God.
Just imagine if they would have saw us right there.
So that's phenomenal. I couldn't imagine if they would have saw you.
Yeah. But if it would have been a movie or something, the view from the other side of the lake, that would have been like a cool scene.
Oh, I'm saying, so everybody watching, if we ever get into a zombie apocalypse, I think Chris is going to hold classes on how to escape and live in the woods and not be seen. So that would be the next episode.
We're going to do that on Zoom and in person.
Hence the staff behind him. So distance. So it seems like that physical aspect from the external arts really gave you a good perspective, like that mystical feeling going into Tai Chi, because I've heard from a lot of people that there is this mystical element, like if you can't push this older man who would seem braille and you can't find a way to push him over, or you can't even pull him. Those are those mystical things in the beginning that we really love and we search for, and it keeps our imagination vibrant. And I do believe that the benefit of starting with the physical art does give you a higher heightened sensation of that. When you find that, though, is there still a mystical search that you're finding, that you're continuing on with?
Yeah, I think that it really should never end. Like there's certain skills involved with Tai Chi and principles that that probably can go on forever. Like using the intention, feeling the energy. I know not everybody feels the energy or even believes in it, but when you feel it and it to be true, that there's depths to it. There's depths to everything. It should be unending. And like you were saying, like coming from like the physical, more I should say more external arts into the internal, that when you're trying to throw somebody or you're wrestling, sometimes it's muscle against muscles really hard. People are breathing hard. But as you get deeper into the depths of Tai Chi, these throws and these things become more and more effortless. And like you said, even a frail or looking person can root against certain attacks or can even throw you out, certain distances. So those skills, I think, as your physical body starts to decline, your energetic body can still grow, and you can use these skills. And of course, it's not just talking about energy, but your knowledge of leverage and different things like that, positioning, and just how to maximize potential martially.
So do you think that now that we're getting on martial, do you think that that's a prevalent point of your practice? Should everybody be a part of that?
I think it should be personal. I think, like, if you asked me a couple years ago, I think everybody should do martial, right? But if you come up to me and you tell me you just want to do Tai Chi, that you love the flow and the beauty of it, you just want to breathe, you want to move because you can't move efficiently, then let's do it. Let's do it, right?
Yeah.
But of course, I'm still going to introduce you to martial principles because that's what it's about. I'm going to say, hey, this is a ward off. If I push you here, you should be able to direct that down into your feet through the releasing of tension. You should be breathing deep, all these different things. So I think each person, should make up their own mind how they want to, whether they want to do it martially or if they just love it for the form or health.
But always using it as a teaching point.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be, or else you're not really doing Tai Chi, right?
Yeah, because of the structure and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's great because I think that no matter who signs up for even if it's a Qigong class, there is still a structural understanding of why we're doing our stances and positions and stuff. And showing the martial, they don't have to perform it, but showing it gives them that visualization of, oh, okay, maybe this is where I should be or how this should feel. So
exactly. Yeah, because if you even like the introduction of push hands and for getting people to understand the energies, when they can feel something or if they roll somebody back, then now when they do their form, it has more substance, it has more meaning to them, more depth of understanding. Right. So yeah, making those connections that way.
So if you were to set up a class for a beginner, for me, and I told you, if I was a beginner and I walked into your class and I told you I want it all, what does it look like? Do you start with, Qigong? Like, how do you take me through the steps?
Yeah, of course, we definitely going to start with Wu Ji. We're going to start with the posture and the breathing, and make sure that, you know, people have a good alignment and a good understanding of releasing tension. Because even people who say they relax, they still hold tension in certain spots. So we want to smooth that out. But we also want to look into like footwork, getting them to be able to walk with like full and empty stepping, just getting the feel of the basics of Tai Chi, the understanding that it is based on, you know, substantial and insubstantial opposites that are occurring, opening and closing. And then I would take them into, you know, once the standing, of course, doing the standing, I think very important. You have to build the legs up. A lot of times when people do the form, they kind of come up and down, or they come out of the legs, right? So we always want to stay in the legs. So getting people to understand that is going to help them in all areas. It's going to help them health-wise. And then if they want that martial package, that's going to be a big part of it there too. So a lot of times when people train in martial arts, you're always thinking about the hand techniques, you know, what are the hands doing? But really everything should come from the foundation. So we got to get that first. And then as I, you know, introduce the form to them, get them to get, you know the form a little bit better. And then we can do some applications, things like that. It's kind of tricky though to show people applications before they have the understanding, because it'll be, yeah, you know, it'll be muscly instead of that connectivity to the dantian and things like that. So as their understanding of Tai Chi grows, their applications become softer and more, actually more powerful, more connected. So I would do that. And like I said, implementing some push hands, things like that down the road. There's actually a couple of people who I start push hands like almost immediately. Now I have like a part of my curriculum is a push hands class, right? So
there you go.
Yeah, so Mondays and Wednesdays we're doing we do form work and, you know, all the qigong and things like that. And then the second class after that we do sparring and self-defense. So that one will have more of a combat base to it, and at the same time, you know, self-defense scenarios, things like that. Some of it will connect to like BJJ movements or MMA training, but I still try to bring in some Tai Chi principles of, you know, relaxing, things like that. But then on Thursdays, we have that push hands class. And so if people want to just come in, then I start them out with like you were showing, you showed us like that basic
circle.
Circle, and then you went to that figure 8 and the vertical circle. So I get people started on those, and then they kind of get a feeling and an understanding of redirecting their energy. And then I try and make sure that to keep their mind open to know like, hey, this is not just a push. It could be a punch coming in, you're redirecting it. It's limitless. The idea is just to keep the connectivity and to keep it, you know, connected to the dantian and the breath. So, and then once people can understand that, then later on you can kind of tell them, hey, techniques don't matter. It's about the, you know, the body that you've built up, and let your mind be free. And then you can be open to whatever comes in and adjust accordingly.
Right. So it seems like you really take them through the ringer, which is important because they're getting every aspect of the art. And, you know, whether it be spiritual, whether it be physical or mental, you're kind of taking them through that whole array. And I know as a beginner, you know, in Tai Chi, that's a lot of stuff. So it seems to me like you're actually doing structure, breath work, and all that stuff, and letting them kind of digest that first, and then moving to the next, letting them digest that, then move on to the next. So I like that process. I think that's a great way to bring someone that doesn't do Tai Chi. Yeah, it doesn't do Tai Chi and starts it, and that's a beautiful way. So now after that, do they get to ask about weapons, or do you then? Is that more of a, hey, I think I want to get into that, or is it more, hey, after we've done this and this, maybe we should get into the weapons?
I generally like for people to at least know the first empty hand form before we do like weapons. But there's been some cases where if there's a new person, he's doing the form, and you know, if we're just starting on, say we're starting on the sword form, and you know, not everybody's along in it, and so I'll give them the option, hey, you can just start the form with this, you know, depending on how I feel about their progress and, you know, their capacity for learning. So I don't want to confuse people like you're learning this and you're learning this at the same time. Some people can handle it, some people can't. But generally, yeah, I think the progression should go empty hand, and you maybe do sword. Then after that, you can probably do spear. And then if it's chin style, you can do Quan Dao after that. So just kind of layering it in.
It seems like some of the best Tai Chi instructors, and I lay you amongst them, is they kind of understand that each person is their own, meaning that you can't just jump into class and everybody's doing the same movement or everybody's going to take it the same. You know, you kind of understand that this person might be ready for push hands and this person may be ready just to do the first 2 moves for a month, you know,
Right.
something of that nature. So that's a good aspect. And for beginners, I want them to kind of see that so they don't get that frustration. Like, why is Ned or this guy 10 moves away and we started at the same time?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. There's a thing I read by Yang Juang Ming, and it was like, it was something about plowing, where he said, he was always, like you said, looking at the other guy like, hey, why is he already doing that? Right. And I think his teacher told him, hey, if you like to plow the field, just plow the field. Keep your head down and plow. If you keep looking up and seeing what other guys at, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. So keep your eyes on what you're doing, and you know you're going to progress. But when you start comparing people, then you know it can be a little disheartening at times.
Yeah, of course.
And it can be. It depends on how you're comparing too. Like if I'm comparing somebody who's up here, I'm like, man, when am I going to get there? Instead of just focusing on what I'm doing now, or if I'm like looking down here, it could be an ego thing. Like I'm like, oh, I'm much better than him. So yeah, with the high and mighty kind of attitude.
Right.
So either one, I think, is bad, or both are not good, I should say.
Sure.
Yeah, just be where you are, work with what you have, and be happy that you can do what you can do. You know.
Yeah. It seems like there's a life lesson in that. You know, it's a holistic kind of mental being of, you know, focus on what you're doing, understand and reflect on what you've done a little bit, but also understand that you have to move forward and don't compare yourself to others because they're in their own lane, you know.
That's right.
And you got to keep on cruising, baby.
That's right.
That's nice. So I know personally that you've gotten into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I think that is a phenomenal caveat to Tai Chi. I think they go they flow connectively. But
you and I are alone in that. You and I.
I know. Yeah, I feel that way, man.
We're the only ones who think that way.
When I bring it up, people look at me like I'm crazy, but it actually works seamlessly. So before I get to that, what is the purpose of push hands into the martial realm? Because I want to just have some clarity from you and other teachers what their perception of push hands is, and then where does that lead to, or where should it lead to?
I think it's a great tool, and it should have that. The key word I think you said is progression. Like it should go from where you're doing that single arm, you're learning just to redirect energy, to listen and sense and feel. And it should calm you down to where you can take an incoming force without overreacting. I remember people would touch my chest and I'd be getting the hand off, and now, you know, just kind of sink, and, you know, things that, you know, you do as well. Also, you should start doing 2 hands. So now you can deal with 2 hands, add in some stepping. So it should always progress into, I should say, the ultimate goal of having some sort of uncooperative live sparring or combat. So it shouldn't just stop at push hands, I don't think. I think once you get good at push hands and you can do moving around, throw some takedowns in there. See if you can take the person down. So now you can root against the person's takedown, or you can reverse it, flow with the energy. Once you get good at that, maybe add some chin na. You can lock my joints. How do I get out of that? You know, you start adding in all these different elements. Okay, let's add some strikes. So now we're not talking about it being push hands anymore, but we use push hands as that segue into a more martial environment where you can, you know, train and explore all types of the art.
So it should be more of a gateway and not.
I think so. That's how I felt. And if you watch the progression of my videos, that's where I've been taking it to, and trying to lead my people.
Yeah. I think that's a great response, because if you stop at push hands, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff for the real world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you won't ever see 2 people get in a fight in the real world and they just do fixed stuff.
That would be nice.
I honestly would be. I think that would be phenomenal.
I'd be fighting people all the time.
You're talking to me? You're talking to me? All right, man, come on. And they just literally start pushing hands. And I think that'd be a great comedy.
The world would be great. You know what? That would be a great comedy. That would be a nice skit. Or
it would be.
Yeah.
It would be, and I would do it.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Next time we see each other, let's do that.
Well, because seriously, it would actually pierce through some of the funny things that I see, saying, you know, okay, push hands is all we need to do. It teaches us everything. It does teach you a lot, but in a real world confrontation, when someone tackles you because they don't care what you do, you know, they have no desire to care what you are about or do. They just know tackle and punch face.
Right. I like your choice of wording too. You said they don't care what you do. And I say that all the time. I said that go out and mix it up with people who don't care about your techniques, or they don't care if you're going to win or not. They
wear your name, you know, you've been, I'm SIFU Master NIKOS, and I've been training for boom! Ah! Did your SIFU Master catch that?
Right.
And
that's going to be the title of the video. SIFU Master gets knocked out.
Black guy. And I think that's so important that we express that push hands is a wonderful expression of the energies and the connective energies in the form, but really do seek that compliant individual that's going to help you grow to grappling, to striking, to, you know, eventually jujitsu or other things of that nature. Mm-hmm. If that so be it your path, right? So if you're interested in taking it that far, don't stop at push hands, because it is a great foundational place. So moving into that, for the viewers, I want you guys to understand when you walk into, and Chris is taking himself outside of his element, but when you walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, and I've often heard this, we have a little bit of a upper hand on balance and stamina, as if a random person walked in. So how did that benefit you walking into that jiu-jitsu gym, working with whoever? Did you feel that, or am I just? No,
I definitely felt it. Like you said, balance wise, I was able to neutralize a lot of energies just by relaxing and allowing them to either push or grab and just kind of go with the flow, and it sets up different situations. Breathing wise, I was always doing my deep abdominal breathing. When it gets intense, which it can be, like it can go from one end of the spectrum to the other depending on who you're with, and sometimes it can kind of take you out of your practice. But generally, I'd say my breathing was always deep and even. So when people were gassed, a lot of times I was able to still maintain a nice breathing pattern.
Yeah.
So that definitely came from Tai Chi. Even when people in jiu-jitsu, there's a term, getting smashed, right? People on top of you and they're very heavy. And what people don't know who haven't experienced is that people are can be very good at distributing their weight in certain ways, so that, you know, not only to keep you down, but to make you the most uncomfortable in life you've ever been. And so if you can breathe through that and, you know, keep your deep breathing and maintain a deep calm, it'll help you in the long run. So it's kind of like a strategy just to be able to breathe good, you know?
Yeah, I think that's important, is the breath work transitioned into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Do you think that from their perspective, without you saying anything, that they thought you knew something previously? Like they thought you had done jiu-jitsu or something? Did anyone mention to you that they felt, hey man, you're a natural, or have you done this before or something like that?
Definitely. Yeah. I don't go in and, you know, when people ask me, I'll tell them, but I don't go in like, I've done Tai Chi and Kung Fu. I'm here to. But yeah, people ask me, they'll be like, hey, did you wrestle before? Or do you do any other martial arts? Things like that.
Yeah.
Or there's one guy, Frank, love him to death. He's like, Chris is a badass, man. Chris is a badass. But I don't feel that way. I mean, you know, I'm always getting crushed equally as much as I do the crushing. So it's very humbling. Yeah. And it's fun. It's good to be challenged, you know, so. But yeah, they definitely knew that I wasn't just a beginner in martial arts. You know?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the most humbling arts that there is.
Sure, for sure.
You know, there's nothing like being, I'm speaking for myself, there's nothing like being 220 pounds and getting wrapped up by a 150-pound brown, or a black belt. Even a blue belt can do that to you.
Yeah.
And just having that sensation of love and learning, I've never, and this could be my lucky experience, but I've never ran into an egotistical jiu-jitsu guy that took advantage of a beginner, right? So they've always been willing to roll, willing to adjust, willing to teach and learn, and all that stuff, because I've been asked, how do you stay so calm? You literally are, what was it? I think it was majestic, I think was the word.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, where it's just, no matter what the situation is, I don't lose my cool and I don't overextend myself to try to do something I'm not sure is going to work. So I'll stay within my comfort zone and then kind of learn a little bit from there and then go out of it. But I won't ever get out of this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. And like you said, it is very humbling because not only weight differential, but age, right? Kids younger than you or guys way older than you. So there's no telling.
Did he just walk in with a cane?
He tossed it and then he kicked my ass, right?
Yeah. I think I seen him on the cover of AARP, and he wraps
with
you
a
up.
gi on.
Yeah. But he'll wrap you up in 2 seconds. And I think it's yeah.
So, and I always say that's the truth in martial arts. So when you can see that ultimate truth of putting yourself out there and what happens,
right.
and then from there, it's up to you how you take it. Do I want to learn from this? Do I want to have a great time and experience, or do I get pissed off and frustrated and never go back? Like, man, that kid kicked my ass, or that old guy. Right. I'm not going back there. I'm going to go back to the Tai Chi world where
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have noticed that in the Tai Chi realm, and of course everybody's their own person, but competition is a little bit scary to some people that I've met. And it's interesting that we aren't more collaborative like the jiu-jitsu arts are. Even if I'm not trying to do any pushing hands or this or that, like me joining a class or me checking you out, and just that seems to be, oh, this is my way, this is the way. It's like, well, let's trade, let's understand each other. Maybe there's something you're doing that I would love to take from you, and vice versa. I think that maybe we can learn from those arts and put that into our art and be more adaptive with other styles. Of course, if you were traditional this or traditional that, that's great. But being open to learning is always a positive thing. And I think that in the Tai Chi realm, we can learn a little bit more of that, being open to it.
Yeah, my experience has been that I've come across some people who are really open to showing me different things. Like if they beat me in push hands or they got something to show me. You've
been beaten?
I've been beaten. Not locally.
Oh, okay, good.
No, but definitely, I've met some people who really were open to sharing. Yeah. But as far as the competition part, I think, like you said, they shy away from it for whatever reason. They could be a little bit intimidated by it. Sure. But then there are also people who say they're just against it, like it. And to me, that seems, it's beyond my comprehension. Like I try to understand their viewpoint. Like I like to try to understand both sides of any argument. And so when people say, well, I think the main thing they say is ego driven, or it gets to be a little testy and things like that. But I think about my own competition experiences, and I always say this in these interviews, that I met some of the best friends that I still have in competition. And competition it just tells you about yourself. You know, it tells you what type of heart you have, what type of determination, what type of character you have. So when you go out there, it's just you against another person. And so how do you respond against that, whether you win or lose? So am I a good winner or am I a good loser? And not only that, did I give it my all? Did I test myself? And when I was tested, did I give up or did I keep going? Did I find a way to grind it out, win or lose? So all these things can come up in competition. And as far as they talk about, you know, let's say it's a push hands competition, and it gets to be a little bit muscly, you know, so right. I've actually seen you in competition and the way you can relax. And even if the person gets, you know, really supercharged and they're trying their best, the softness is what wins. The structure, the relaxation always wins. So if you can maintain your own state and not worry about what the other person is doing, then I think competition is great. But if you get pulled into that trap and then, you know, you both get muscly, then that's just a learning experience for you. You need to, instead of giving up and saying, I hate competition, say I'm gonna go back with a new mindset. I'm gonna try to maintain that relaxation and no matter what happens. So I think it's just the way you look at it. Testing yourself and others is always great. There's always great camaraderie there. Yeah. And I think if you get into a real altercation and you haven't done any type of non-compliant sparring or competitions or anything, then it's going to be a totally new area for you. I mean, it's even more ramped up than a competition. So, and people like to think that they're ready. Right. Yeah. People like to think that they're ready, but unless they've actually experienced something similar or the actual thing, then they're not really ready. Because if your art relies on relaxation, and you can't relax because you haven't been in that situation before, then all your skills and tool sets are out the window. So we're only comfortable in places where we've been before, right? So if you haven't been there before, you're not going to be comfortable there.
My first fight, I got my ass beat. So
I don't believe you, but go ahead.
No, I did. And I had been doing Tai Chi for like 6-7 years at that point, and I believed I was good enough, you know, but I hadn't tested it. Beyond that point, I was just doing the form. So I get it. And that's why I spar constantly and I grapple constantly, because I think it's just a testament to your will on the real streets. I know, and it's funny to say, but I know that if you even touch my shoulder, you're getting a roll back in a playful way until I see it's not, you know, I'm going to greet you, but it's going to be greeted with, you know, skill
either way, right?
A reaction just in case. But but it's because now I've trained my body to react to outside situation, as opposed to not being ever in tournaments or ever in things like that, to where I don't know what's going to happen. In a tournament, you know the severest moment can be you getting knocked out if you're sparring. You know the severest moment, if you're pushing, you can get thrown down, you know. And in a real life situation, you don't know that moment. You don't know that level. So to me, I want to get as close to that level as humanly possible, to where if I do experience that in the streets, I've at least been here, you know, at my worst in a controlled situation, right? That way I can base it off of this that I went to, and then in the street fight, hopefully it's a little bit more, you know, vibrant for me. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, the closest you can get, the better. Yeah, the closest you can get safely. But
exactly, right. And I would say free sparring can be unsafe, but it's definitely a good way to understand if you can take a punch and continue moving. I often, when I was younger, fell into the magic of the one-hit wonder. You know, now your brain stops, you know, kind of thing. Maybe not that magical or majestical, but what I'm saying is I fell into that, you know, boom, this is gonna make their bladder explode. Boom, this is gonna make their heart stop. You know, I fell into that. And so and it's okay too, because you're still finding that magical moment within Tai Chi. But I think that we have to have that, and then we have to have that real side saying it doesn't end there. You have to continue and continue and continue growing through those steps. And I personally think that many get stuck in that majestical world and they don't get outside of that realm of actually testing themselves.
Yeah. And having those type of majestical abilities or, esoteric abilities, all that is great and wonderful if you can do it. And I mean, of course I can do it in the dojo with my students, and
Right.
I can do it, and even maybe in some competition where there's rules. But the closer we get up, we were talking about those levels, the closer we get up there, if I haven't been up there, I'm not going to be able to do those things because my mind and my system's not going to allow it, because I haven't been there. I don't have the calm necessary to do it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, good. I think that you're bringing up a good perspective for me, because a lot of people I talk to, they don't have that mindset. In my class, they're just there to learn Tai Chi. They're there to get the basics, but they don't have that idea that it can go way up here. And that's good, because we're talking about step by step by step. And Tai Chi is a long road. And so that's what I'm getting at, is not everybody in my class is going to have that, oh, maybe I can take it up to fighting, or maybe I need to test myself in this or that, this, but they're going to get there because they're investing themselves into this art. And what this art means is all of that plus this is what I think. And that's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like you said, Tai Chi is a long road, even longer, right?
Yeah, bigger than the road.
But when you think about Tai Chi in combat, it'd be great if you could just do the form and sequence and everything just worked out, right? But, in real combat, you have to have footwork, you have to have stepping, you better move your head a little bit. You have to have certain elements,
right?
And so when people talk about combat Tai Chi, it should look pretty close to most other combats. And maybe what would make it Tai Chi is you're not fighting the force against force. You're rolling this to the side. Right. You're using Fajin when you strike, but you still have to have those elements that make combat. The distance, the timing. What's that?
I was just saying, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have noticed that so my push hands videos, a lot of people have commented and said, man, this is phenomenal. We don't ever see this. To me, in my perspective, in my head, I was confused by that, because I personally have never allowed myself to become a bull. And so recently I actually did more research and looked at a lot of competitions. And I've done it before, but not as thoroughly and not as in depth. But I think a lot of people are looking to see Tai Chi as pure as the form in a fight.
Right.
And so when they don't see that, they're gonna be that's not Tai Chi, you're just fighting. And so if we can somehow divide that and understand that, a guy can be holding his hands up like this and still be Tai Chi, that he just has to pour those principles of Tai Chi into this movement and into that stance or connectivity, so he can roll back and push and pull or do these energies. But it's not always going to look like the form. And so if we can break that stigma, I think then more people will be acceptable to putting this into their arts, like MMA and things like that, because being more relaxed and having more ability to control and breathe is always a better thing, no matter what position you're in, whether you're in MMA or jiu-jitsu or whatever, even in your working force. So
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So do you do anything like meditation classes or anything like that?
Well, I do Qigong, and we do Wuji standing. Like we'll do that as a meditation. We also do a grounding exercise that's kind of like from my medical Qigong teacher. And that one is, it's not really like a meditation, it's more like a guided kind of, I guess it could fall in the category of guided meditation at first, but then when you do it on your own, it would be more like, I guess, considered more like a Taoist kind of meditation.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a Zen or Chan is more about emptying, but this one will have steps to facilitate the flow of energy and ground and things like that. As far as teaching a meditation like that, I haven't really taught any, like other than, like I said, the Wuji stand.
Yeah.
Really.
And do you think that what is the most important aspect of Tai Chi?
The most important, letting go, I think.
Yeah.
Letting go of thoughts and tension in the body, tension in the mind, just being able to shave everything off and come back into a more pure state. the weight of the world will be on you forever if you let it, right? Tasks that you have to do, things that somebody did to me earlier, the past and the future,
Yeah, all
just
that.
being able to come into the present, right?
Right. So letting go, I think that's a powerful thing, and something that people can utilize every single day, every moment, because we're constantly tested, we're constantly moving through these emotional things, and being, judged and all sorts of things. So if we have that foundational breathing and connectivity, I think letting go would be a very massive piece of someone's structure. So
yeah.
that's powerful. That's powerful.
And it's hard to let go, especially physically, like when you're showing us the thing where you hold the person's arm and you roll it and then you let it go and their arm should fall, right? So many people are holding on and they just don't know. Yeah. And you're like, wow, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, just let it go.
Yeah, we're like, what are you doing?
What's hard about that?
Yeah, so I forgot about that, and that's one of my favorite exercises to do, because I, over the years, have realized how many people are tense and don't trust, which is a guarded thing that they built from their life. And if I told you, hey, Chris, man, turn around and fall, man, I'm gonna catch you, you really gotta trust. You really gotta trust.
Right.
Funny note that popped in my head, I remember watching All About the Benjamins, and Mike Epps with Ice Cube. Did you ever see that one?
A long time ago.
Yeah, well, Mike Epps is up in the boat, and Ice Cube's down here, and he's handcuffed. Mike Epps is handcuffed. He's like, jump, man, I'm gonna catch you. And he jumps and falls into the dang boat. But that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy, because a lot of people have that fear of trust, of letting go. So I think I could probably we could coin letting go is probably a massive piece of the entire art, because you have to leave whatever baggage at the door. You have to walk in and just be willing to learn and change your lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that was actually a big part of me doing the BJJ too. Like when I came in, I knew I wanted to come in with an empty cup, and a lot of people were asking me like, well, what comparisons do you see? How does, and I'm like, well, I'm not really comparing. I'm just learning. I'm just listening. Yeah. I want to learn the techniques, and I want to do what my instructor says. And I've seen people in the class, and they go, oh, that's like the high pat. You do this and you do that, and it's a split. And so they want to not necessarily show their knowledge, but in the way I think it is that they kind of want people to know that they have a skill and this and that. And then, and making comparisons can come later. It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Your bodies and your mind are going to do it without you searching and looking for it. So having that empty cup when you begin with anything is good. So releasing and letting go, just letting go of what you know already, keep it in there, but put it in the back and just
let it go.
Right.
So what would be some advice that you would give to anyone that wanted to get into martial arts or Tai Chi or anything like that? What would be some basic advice that you would let them know?
I would say do some research and narrow down what it is you want to do. Like if you want to, why do you want to do martial arts? Do you want to do martial arts because you think it's fun? Like I really thought it was fun growing up, watching the movies, and, if you want to do it because it's fun and you just want to be healthy, do it for that reason. If you want to, do it for protection, then, focus on the arts that will teach you that in the most efficient manner. And if you want to do it because you want to compete, then focus on those arts. No matter which art or which reason you start, just make sure you train your hardest and give it your all. And then eventually those genres or those categories that I mentioned will kind of merge and cross over, and you'll find your own path. I would say make sure you find a good teacher, research that, look around. Yeah, make sure you have a genuine connection with your teacher. If you don't feel that, no matter how good they are, then it's not going to be worth it, I don't think, in the long run. And one thing I would say is, as you go throughout your martial arts career, try and be as well-rounded as you can, and just have fun. Try to make it fun. So, because training can be hard. It should be hard. Challenge yourself, but
that's good advice
along the way.
That's great advice. I love that. Is there anything that you specifically are trying to shed right now or work on in your own personal venture in this art?
You said shed?
Yeah. Is there anything that any bad habits or anything that you are trying to get rid of or work on or gain?
I constantly need to work on my neck and posture, my head positioning. Because when I was in high school, I used to walk down the halls like this with a toothpick in my mouth. So I always constantly have to think about the crown of the head.
Yeah.
And that's,
Were you a gangster, Chris?
No, I was really quiet. I was a cool kind of quiet,
Good.
But yeah, I had one teacher who used to put like a rounded weight on my crown, and I used to have to do the class like that. And every now and then, like when I'm driving, I'll catch myself, or if I'm looking at a video, I'm like, why is my head tilting? So that seems to be a constant thing for me, as much as I talk about the crown suspending and things like that. So I think the challenge is to make it just that lifestyle, not just when I'm teaching or when I'm in class, when I'm driving, right?
Right, everything.
Yeah, but I definitely working on Dantian work, doing the ball, doing the bond, things like that. This is not necessarily shedding, but I'm just going to throw this in there. One of the things I noticed about a lot of the martial arts I had done is that even though they may have had takedowns in them, there was nothing happening after that takedown. Generally, you just let the person stand back up, you restart or whatever. And so that's kind of what led me into the BJJ. So it's like, I think maybe 2018, you came to Cleveland and I had you to like show some ground stuff. You show like a knee shield and a scissor sweep and a couple other things. And so, and that was, I had already been kind of looking into it. And so since then, I've been on this journey of what do you do when you get on the ground? They're not just going to let you back up, right?
No, they're not.
So, and so what I teach now is I don't necessarily teach people to become, jujitsu fighters, but I'll teach them how to get up safely. Because if you just if you just try to stand up, you're gonna get kicked in the head, clocked. If you turn around, you're gonna get choked,
right?
Or just stomped. So there's ways of getting up correctly. And then I teach the distance management, where if you're on the ground and you're not able to get up and the person's just going wild, you may need to manage the distance by bringing them in. You might have to use a guard, put them in your guard, and then you can get up after. There's ways of getting up after that, or finishing or sweeping. So just, just a basic knowledge, not an in-depth knowledge of, I'm going to, but just, because if you get down there and somebody's just on top of you, stomping you, punchy, if you cover up, you're done. There's no Herb Dean's not going to step in and stop the fight, right?
There's no Herb Dean,
right? You just don't want to be at anybody's mercy. And the thing is, too, a lot of people feel that they can't be taken down and they won't be taken down, but that's BS. I mean, anybody can be taken down. You could slip on the mud. Or you could just have a skilled fighter, somebody who's skilled enough to take you down.
Right.
As a side note, I see sometimes these high-level SIFUs, and they have videos of you would do this against a double leg. And I look at the guy doing the double leg and he's all bent over and he's overreaching. No, he doesn't have good technique, right?
What you need to do is go to a wrestling school.
Thank you. Yeah. Go to where people actually grapple, and then do your technique against them. And let's see that. I want to see that video. I don't want to see your student piss poor fucking double leg or strikes with no speed, no accuracy, or overcommitting. Like they'll punch and they'll overcommit until you get up against a striker and he's like, giving you the business.
Like, okay, hold on, stop, pause, pause, nosebleed.
Let's clean this up and restart the video. Yeah. But I mean, Joe Rogan, like him or not, one of the quotes I use.
What a hell of a time to say that.
Right. One of the quotes I said in my workshop came from him, and he was like, I don't want to just, have skills against an unskilled person. I want to have skills that work on somebody who's trained. I want to have skills that work on a martial artist. Right. So in order to have that, you can't just rely on students or people who don't know an actual technique to try to emulate that technique as if you could defend against it. It's not going to happen. If you think it does, then it's a wake
So
up.
what do you personally, if you were in the streets and someone walked up to you, you have two scenarios. What do you think is scarier, more challenging, a trained fighter or an untrained fighter?
Both, because they both have danger. So untrained fighter would be very unpredictable. You don't know what the hell he's coming with. And and it could be easy too, because an untrained fighter might come with that haymaker I've been waiting for all my life, or like I can do my slip and I can I've been waiting for this moment.
Right.
Or you never know. He may just come out with a knife like and slice up the middle. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then a trained fighter, it'd be more of a controlled fight. I think if I fought a trained fighter, we'd probably talk afterward. We'll have some coffee or something like man, where'd you train, guy?
Where'd you learn that? There's like Rush Hour 2, Dragon Ball.
Right. Yeah. Twisting Tiger.
Yeah, Twisting Tiger.
Oh, they're brothers.
Yeah, we're brothers.
But I also like to think too that a lot of trained fighters aren't out there causing trouble. So
yeah,
if they're trained and they're causing trouble, most times they're low level.
Right.
Like me and my brother, we had a conversation one time. He was like, 1 out of 100 people might be that one villain who trained to a high level just to be a villain, just to be a bad guy.
You ain't lying, man. You ain't lying. Because it's out there. That guy's out there somewhere.
Yeah, but other than that, though, I think both would be dangerous, and I think that somebody who you can beat on Monday, you might not beat them on Wednesday. The variables and decisions, shit happens. You just never know.
I love
that. Unskilled guy could just get a lucky punch and just knock you the hell out. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. I mean, I think we had a well-rounded conversation, and I love your approach on Tai Chi because it's very straightforward, but it comes from a very honest place because of the previous martial arts. You know what the external feels like, and so now you're delving into the internal world, and then you're delving back out into the external world to apply your internal. So your journey has been a beautiful journey to see. And everybody that's watching, Chris, I've had the pleasure of working with him. This is very skilled, very knowledgeable. If you guys want to learn from Chris, you go to Green Dragon. He can give you all the information, the website and the social media and all that stuff. We'll tag it. We'll put it on this. But that was a great conversation, man. I enjoyed that.
I think so too. A lot of fun. I can call you later. We can swap some more stories.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. We have two things to do when I come back out. Okay, we have two things to do. One, we're making that push hands comedy thing.
Okay.
Act like we're bumping each other, we're about to fight, and then we go into a push hands scenario. Hilarious.
Definitely.
And two, we got to be ninjas, man.
Let's do it. I'll show you how to get in the park, and we can wait till midnight.
Then I can say that's my ninja. All right.
Oh man.
But yeah, seriously, I think that's cool, man. I think that's great. That's great. But is there anything you want to part with and say to beginners, to advanced people, to watchers, anybody that's looking? So
yeah. One thing I want to say is do the art for you. Don't let other people influence you. If you feel a certain way based on your wants or your, not only that, but your individual style or skill set, then go do your path, go your own way. Don't let other people influence you. One example would be where when I first started doing Tai Chi, I heard you're not supposed to lift weights because it'll make you tense and all these other things. And so I actually stopped lifting weights for a while, and I lost a lot of strength, and my joints got weakened. And recently, probably last year, I started back, and I'm feeling a lot better. I'm able to lift my suitcase and able to do a lot of things with a lot more strength. So, and I can stay relaxed. So don't think that you have to listen to what everybody else says is what you have to do. Find out for yourself, test it. What feels right for you, you do that, make your own path. That's
I
all
love that. Say. I think that's powerful.
And another thing, waiting on your CD. I see your guitar in the corner there.
Oh yeah, put my guitar back here. I got all sorts of stuff back there, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that CD. Yeah, you're gonna love that. You're gonna be bumping that.
Oh, that's gonna be like
that sideways head like. Damn it.
Look at the rear view. That's gonna be my new training. Not only music, but also when I make a video, I want the rights that I can put it in my video.
No, you can use it all, man.
All right.
Yeah, you can use it all.
Me throwing people around. No, I'm just playing.
Right.
Or getting choked out to your music. Like,
hey, man, I'm all right with that. Use it.
Cool.
You need, so yeah.
All right.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you as well. Look forward to.
I can't wait to see you, and I'll send you that tape, man.
Awesome.
Look at my 90s ass. I'll send you that CD.
Right.